Hello, I am Ron Block with the Cuyahoga County Public Library, and this is Cuyahoga Cooks. During the pandemic, we ran a contest for people to submit family recipes and tell us about their family and the history of the recipe. And we chose some amazing winners, and we're going to present them to you today. We're going to follow along, and I'll make their recipes. We have interviews with each of the winners, and we are going to start now. Welcome back to Cuyahoga Cooks. Today we are actually going to have dessert. It's going to feature the Wasick family plum upside down cake, which was submitted by Katie Flynn. It's a great heartwarming story behind the recipe of family and tradition and passing recipes down from generation to generation, but also it's a story of immigration. So please enjoy this interview that I did with Katie. I'd like you to meet Katie Flynn. Katie, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure. I'm just going to say again that I really appreciate you entering. Your story and your recipe are just really epitomize what we were looking for here. And it's just such a great multi-generational story. And I'd like to have you first tell us about where it originally came from.
Sure. So this recipe came to me in a handwritten cookbook that was made by my great-great-grandmother, Barbara Helen Gruber Wasick. And she was born in 1870, and she lived most of her life in St. Louis. And so she wrote this recipe book during the 20s and 30s. And then she passed it down to her daughter-in-law, who was named Pearl. And she passed it down to my grandmother, her daughter, Elizabeth Wasick Flynn. And my grandmother gave me the cookbook. So this it was passed down through 5 generations.
You also said that you've kind of made it year round, so you don't have to wait till just plums are in season, but you said some other fruits can be substituted. What other ones have you had great success with making this?
Yeah, well, I think you can make it with any fruit, really. It's just a fruit upside down cake. And, my grandma remembers her mom would serve this often for their Sunday dinners. And so just whatever fruits were in season, and they would even make it with dried fruits and nuts in the winter. So the recipe is really for prune plums when they're in season, but you could actually make it with dried prunes and nuts in the winter too.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for sharing your story and sharing the recipe. And I'm so excited to show it to everybody that tunes in.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Wasn't that a great story? It made me so excited to try this cake, and I'm going to show you now how I put it together. Probably not as good as Grandma, but I'll be a good substitute. So first up, I have over to the side, I have melted a tablespoon of butter in with a little bit of half and half, and that's going to help combine all the ingredients in just a minute. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to beat together some eggs, sugar, and vanilla. So it's 2 eggs and a little bit of sugar, half a cup, and a little dot of vanilla. Now you can use a mixer for this, but I tend to love my handy dandy whisk, and I love to just mix it all together until we can combine it all to this delicious looking yellow color. It's just, that's when you know you're gonna have something delicious to eat, when you get this as your base when you start out. Okay, so for this, we're going to sift together some flour. We're gonna have a cup of flour. And we have a little baking powder. And we're going to get that mixed together. I actually have another handy dandy whisk here to help out do that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to slowly combine the half and half with the melted butter in it into this, and we're going to alternate them until we have this beautiful batter built up. So we're going to start out with a little bit of the half and half mixture and a little bit of the flour mixture. Mix that all together. Easy, right? And again, you're welcome to use a handheld mixer. Mix that together. Let's do this again. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. This really just helps it be all combined, and it'll help make a really nice risen cake for us. All right, now we're gonna put in the rest of the half and half and the rest of the dry ingredients. And we're gonna give this a great stir, and then we're gonna be ready for our next step. Get that all in there, and wish you could smell it. Actually, if you're a baker and you know what these smells like when you mix sugar and vanilla and eggs together, it's just such a great smell. So we're gonna put that off to the side for just a minute. And what we're gonna do is, the recipe calls for prune plums, and they're not always available, so you could use any plums that actually work for you. And I've even used canned plums. Canned plums are perfectly acceptable here. And we're going to actually cut these in half so that we have symmetrical halves. And this is where the fun begins, because with each of these comes a pit for removal. And they sometimes give you a little hard time, but don't let them beat you. Look at that color. Look at that color. If you have kids around and you want to let them have that, it could be really fun. But just be careful of what your hands look like at the end. So now we're going to take these beautiful plums. Look how cool that color is. So awesome. And we're going to bring them over here, and we're going to assemble our cake here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to heat up this little pan, and we're going to melt about 2 tablespoons of butter in here till that gets all nice and bubbly and starts to brown. Should just take a second. So I have made this cake before from the recipe, and I'm telling you, we are in for a treat. Okay, that's pretty melted now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some brown sugar, about 1/2 cup, and that's going to make it all bubbly and brown and really set the bottom of this cake on fire with flavor. Mix it in with the butter. So once we get in that in there, and we got the brown sugar across the bottom of the pan, this is where we're going to add all of these beautiful plums. So they're going to go into the bottom of this. We turn off the heat, and we're going to do these upside down, the cut side down on the bottom of the pan, so they can mix in with the flavor of the brown sugar. Boom. And then comes the best part. This is the lovely batter that we've made and created, and we're going to just put that over the top of the plums. We're going to cover it evenly. Spread that around, make sure you got some everywhere, because as it cooks, it's going to rise and it's going to become a beautiful golden brown. And this bowl is now ready for somebody to lick it. Lick the bowl. So then we're going to take this lovely thing and we're going to put it in the oven, ready to go at 375 for about 35 minutes. And through the magic of television, we have one that's all finished and ready to go. Right? Ready to dig in? On behalf of the Cuyahoga County Public Library, I want to thank you for joining us on Cuyahoga Cooks. I want to thank everybody who submitted recipes, and especially thanks to the winners of our contest. They were wonderful, they were fun, and I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you'll also visit the library and check out some of our other culinary resources. We've got cookbooks, we've got downloadable ebooks, we have lots of videos, and just something for everybody. And I also want to thank the great people here at Somrak Kitchens for letting us film here. We've had the best time, and it's a great showroom. Be sure to check it out.